Powered by Arkansas, for Arkansas. This is Inside Arkansas Football.
And what's going on, Razorback fans, and welcome to the Inside Arkansas Football post-game show presented by BetSaracen Casino Resort, the #1 sports betting site in the state of Arkansas. I'm Andrew Ellis. I'm joined by my right-hand man, Curtis Wilkerson, and we are here to break down another real tough Razorback heartbreak that ends in a game that, honestly, in a lot of ways, lived up to what we expected, lived up to our expectations of the offenses being high-flying, not a ton of separation between these two teams, was going to come down to a few plays here and there, and that's exactly what happened. The Arkansas Razorbacks on the other end of it, they fall 41-35 against Ole Miss. They dropped to 2-1 on the year, 0-1 in SEC play. We're going to try and get to everything. We're going to unpack it all. We're going to try and get to your chats. We're going to talk through our process through this whole thing. But Curtis, how are we doing in your epic return to work for us? Didn't go as planned.
I mean, I've been better. I got to admit, I had a fun, last 3.5 hours or whatever. It was a good watch. It really was. It was a fun game. Exciting. Arkansas gave fans a lot of things to be pumped up about throughout. They gave fans a lot of things to rip their hair out about. At the end of the day, man, this was just, like you said, it's tough. Just a classic Arkansas way to lose a football game right there. I mean, a D2 quarterback starts and he looks like prime Pat Mahomes, on your defense all night while your offense is really, really clicking. And then, you finally get the stop you need defensively to give yourself and Taylor Green a chance. And then you turn the damn ball over near the red zone and you lose the game. You got 2 missed field goals. One of them, you should argue, never should have been attempted. It's frustrating, man. I don't think it's the end of the world or anything like that. It's just road wins are hard to come by, man, in the SEC. And it was a good game. You gave yourself a chance. It was a fun watch, but damn it, this just feels like one of those that we're going to be looking back on at the end of the year, seeing as a massive missed opportunity here for Arkansas, because I really thought that they had a shot. They proved that they did. Like you said, not much separation between these two teams. It looked like it was either going to be the first team to get a stop would win or the first team to make a mistake would lose. And it turns out Arkansas was the team that made the mistake there at the end.
Curtis, do you remember in basketball season when every game that would happen, we would say, I don't know if I feel vastly different about this team. Once we got an SEC play, that started changing, but we would watch some of these non-conference games early and we'd say, you know what? They played good here. They played bad here, but our big picture view of the team didn't change too much. And I think that's where I'm at here tonight. Like, I don't think we learned anything crazy about the Arkansas Razorbacks, which is usually what you expect when you play your first SEC game. That's your big fear as a fan, is like, you go into this matchup, you've beat up on 2 cupcakes. You're worried that you're going to get exposed and that you're going to get shown to be fraudulent. And I don't believe that's what happened here in this game. Like, I don't believe Arkansas ran into some challenge that they were incapable of getting over. Like you said, they had every chance to win this game. I mean, they outgained Ole Miss. They had 522 yards of offense. We all kind of felt how we felt coming into this game, but I don't think anybody expected there to be a blowout for the most part. I know Ole Miss got the better part of Arkansas last year, but we all kind of expected both teams would have a chance to win this game. That is how it played out. And I got to be honest, Curtis, and I'm not trying to do a victory lap for our coverage here or anything, but if you really think about the way we've been talking about this program and this team position by position, I feel like every single position group on the team kind of lived up to their billing in good and bad ways. I thought Taylor Green looked like a better version of the quarterback that we saw in SEC play last year. I didn't think he was perfect. I think there were some throws he would certainly like to have back, a few decisions that he got away with making, but I thought Taylor Green was more dynamic, more dangerous, looked more prepared for SEC, for these road games in the SEC, and we don't really know how good that defense is. I thought the receivers were fine. I thought the O-line was fine. The run game was pretty good. Defensively, the secondary, big red flag. Arkansas wasn't able to really get in the backfield and create negative plays in the run game, weren't really able to rush the passer. You let a D2 transfer who got here in the fall really have his way with this Arkansas defense. Those red flags that we felt like were red flags did pop up. But in the end, they still shouldn't have cost Arkansas the game. Like, as bad as the defense was, you have the ball, you're down 6, 4 minutes. Arkansas, it looked like it was going to time out flawlessly. Arkansas was going to go score with under a minute to play, and Ole Miss would be in a good situation. You have the bad fumble from Jaylen Brown, and it just felt like every time there was a play that needed to be made, it didn't go Arkansas's way. You have 2 missed field goals, and there's just so many plays. In losses like this, there are no shortage of plays. Everyone's going to focus on the fumble, and maybe even deservedly so, but there's so many plays, the Starzik field goals, the fourth down in the first play of the first drive of the game from Ole Miss. You have a defensive holding in that play, and it's just like so many things add up. And I think it's, like you said, it's frustrating, and that's a good word for it. I would almost rather Arkansas have just been completely unprepared and just been the worst team. And you just find out, hey, we're not as good of a football team as we thought. It sucks because there's so much you can look at and be like, holy cow. I don't know if any team in the SEC has a quarterback as dynamic as Taylor Green. I don't know if anybody has a defense that is really going to shut down this Razorback offense, but you just feel like this is a big missed opportunity in this league when the margin for error is small, and you look at some of the other games on the schedule, it's not going to be a lot easier. You just really can't afford to lose games that you're supposed to win. And I felt that way in a couple times last year, specifically Missouri and Oklahoma State. I feel that way this year. This is a game that Arkansas really needed to win, and they'll have to wait to get that big program-changing win.
Yeah, I mean, 522 yards of offense and 35 points on the road, that should be enough to get you where you want to be. And I thought Taylor Green was really, really good in this game, 22 of 35 passing, threw for 305. Another touchdown, didn't have a pick. Did he miss some throws? Yeah, he did. He overthrew one touchdown pass. He underthrew another one where probably should have been a PI that was called, but hey, put the ball where it needs to be and you don't have to worry about it. So I get it. He wasn't perfect, but boy, he gave Arkansas every opportunity there to wind up winning this football game. You felt like if Arkansas got that stop there with about 4 or 5 minutes left and Taylor Green got another chance, that he was going to make him pay. And he did. It wasn't him that fumbled the football there. So a lot of kudos to him. Kudos to the offense. You mentioned the offensive line. I thought they were tremendous. Remember what Ole Miss's defensive front did to Arkansas last year? And I know it's a bunch of different guys, but you didn't allow a sack in this football game. You only had 2 TFLs allowed in this football game. Really good job by the offensive line. I thought some guys did some things, catching the football. Omega Blake was good again, 6 for 81 and a touchdown. Jaylen Brown outside the fumble there, I thought he did some really good things. I was encouraged by a lot of what I saw from the Razorback offense. And for the most part, I didn't think Ole Miss really had an answer for them. I don't know how good their defense is big picture, but it's better than anything Arkansas has seen so far. Defensively, you just put up little to no resistance whatsoever. And it's one thing, I think, Andrew, to lose a football game when a Division II quarterback is starting for their team. It's another thing to me to just get beat by a Division II quarterback. Like Chambliss beat Arkansas. He did that. That was him. It wasn't like they had him in the game and Lacey ran all over you. He averaged 2.6 yards per carry in this football game. Chambliss goes out there. He goes 21 to 29, 353. He runs for 62 on you. He's got 3 total touchdowns. He did it to you single-handedly. That worries me because we had some concerns about this defense, and it wasn't Jackson Dart doing it to you this time. It wasn't, Matt Corral or whoever. It wasn't any of those guys. It wasn't even Austin Simmons. It was a Division II quarterback, and give him credit because they were comparing him to damn Baker Mayfield and Russell Wilson and Antoine Randall L and all these other guys before the game. I'm like, good grief, will you let this dude throw a pass first? Turns out they were shortchanging him because he looked like, freaking electric tonight. They got to get some things figured out defensively, and I worry about what that's going to look like moving forward. Hope Kenai Walker is okay. I know he didn't play his best game tonight, but that's a scary situation there. Anytime you see somebody on a spine board, that's scary. Good to see the thumbs up there. Good to hear some of the reports that it was precautionary. Hope he's okay. But big picture, Travis Williams got a lot of questions on that defense that he's going to have to get answered in a hurry, or we're going to see a lot of this where the Arkansas offense keeps you in position, keeps you with chances to win football games. But if you can't string together some stops and get off the field, you're not going to win too many of them.
Yeah, no, there's a lot. We're focusing on the Arkansas side of this. I think the Ole Miss side is obviously one half of the game, and you gave them some credit, and they absolutely deserve some credit to Chambliss for just being ready for the moment. I mean, his first FBS start, dude was cool as a cucumber. The commentary team was talking about that constantly throughout the game of how composed he looked, his leadership. He looked like a 3-year starter out there.
He also had a nail ripped off of his finger there. Did you see that?
Yeah. No, that was
that did
tough,
not
man.
Feel good. Yeah.
And by the way, credit to Austin Simmons, who was available, but clearly was not healthy to come in and throw a touchdown pass, which wound up being a huge play in this game. And so you can give credit to Ole Miss. And by the way, the fact that Arkansas didn't know which quarterback was playing, I think we all thought 24 hours ago, I thought it was for sure Austin Simmons playing in this game. Like I really didn't really consider this whole, Chambliss was going to run the show, and Arkansas didn't have a ton to prepare for. He had some film from D2, but completely different system, completely different everything outside of 4 minutes in the Kentucky game. Not much for Arkansas to prepare for. So that's kind of, if you want to look at this through a very optimistic lens, you can start talking yourself into that. But you're right, man. There's definitely going to be something that needs to give with this secondary. And by the way, this is the same secondary that coming into the year we had big questions about because we kept hearing in scrimmages, hey, an 80-yard catch for Monte Harrison. Hey, a 75-yard touchdown for this guy. Hey, a 70-yard Talon threw 5 touchdowns. And you start thinking, does Arkansas have an issue in the secondary? Arkansas did not play teams in the first 2 weeks of the season that were good enough to exploit those issues. And by the way, Arkansas State played well against Iowa State today, held up, fine, respect to them. They don't have the type of offense that Lane Kiffin, regardless of who his quarterback is, presents. And that was kind of the big question of, like, what is this defense with this D-line that doesn't have a ton of depth? And we did see David Oki get in there, but still just not a ton of depth. Felt like that unit was kind of starting to hang on by thin ice a little bit there at the end too. And then the secondary might be an even bigger concern than we maybe guessed coming in. But I'm interested to hear from Hog fans, and I look forward to when we can get into the chat, because I am interested to hear, like, big picture, how much did your view of the team change from this game? And I don't think there's a right or wrong answer, but, like, I kind of look across the roster and I'm like, everybody kind of did what I thought they were capable of doing. I think you can make an argument the secondary, based on how they played in week 2, greatly underachieved, obviously, but it's like we knew that was a point of concern coming in. We knew D-line was a point of concern coming in. Perhaps the linebackers, though, maybe that was maybe a little, they were getting exploited in that in the passing game a good bit. So again, you can give credit to Lane Kiffin and say, listen, they had a good game plan. They threw Arkansas off guard. They didn't know what they were doing with this quarterback situation. They used it to their advantage. But I think the big difference in the game, Curtis, to me, I felt like coming in, Arkansas's run game offensively had all the explosion, and we saw plenty of that today, but could they consistently carve out these drives, consistently move the chains on the ground and run the ball between the tackles? They did it a little bit on those last couple of drives, but Ole Miss was the team that anytime they wanted could just turn around and run QB power, could hand the ball off. And I guess they just found a little bit more consistency in their run game, wound up being a little bit of a big difference later in the game. And you start to think, how are some other SEC teams going to exploit this defense in different ways?
Yeah, no doubt about it. And some of it was scheme. Like, yeah, I'll give Lane credit where it's due here. I don't know that they were running the full gambit there with Trinidad Chambliss at quarterback, but also some of it was just they saw man coverage, they picked a guy and they went one-on-one fade routes and they just won them, or they got a penalty, or they would just get the ball in space. And Arkansas looked like they were in quicksand defensively, especially early in that game. I thought Arkansas looked very slow, very unathletic, trying to tackle an open space. It was almost comical. It was like Ole Miss was covered in KY jelly or something, man. You couldn't wrap them up. That was something that was more concerning to me than any like big breakdowns or guys running wide open. You just couldn't tackle them. And you couldn't hold them one-on-one. You were insistent on running man coverage, and it wasn't really getting you anywhere. So, yeah, concerned about the defense, not concerned about the offense. That's where I was going into the season. It's where I was after 2 games, and it's where I am after this one. So I am with you in terms of looking like, what does this mean going forward and everything like that. I thought that this was a swing game opportunity for Arkansas. If you're trying to look for the pathway to get out of that 6-6 type of purgatory and really get to that, people say, well, can they win 8 games? You win one like this, against a semi-vulnerable team who is playing a D2 backup quarterback there. This is an opportunity for you that was missed. I saw somebody in the chat was like, what opportunity? Get to a better bowl game? Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about here. So, and that one was missed there for the Razorbacks. And Ole Miss, listen, they're good. They're not as good as they were last year. What do you think of that? Is that an 8-4 football team probably?
By the end of the year, they'll probably be something like that. It's going to be interesting to see what they do offensively. But yeah, I think Ole Miss is solid, but they're a solid step down from what they were last year.
Yeah, I think so too. So, oh man, I don't know. I see some up and down in the chat. A lot of people were pissed off about that very first drive for Arkansas. And we talked about this, Andrew, with clock management versus, fourth down, like decision-making in key areas. And it played out on both sides on the first drive. Arkansas's in Ole Miss territory. You got a 4th and 2. That seems like prime go for it. But instead you roll out the freshman kicker for a 51-yarder on the road without being able to settle into the game. Whatever, he misses it. And then there's Ole Miss right there in the red zone with the 4th and short. Lane goes for it. It's not, hey, I'm going to take the points and get the lead here. I'm going to go for it. They get the PI. They score on the next play. That's kind of the telltale of 2 very different coaches when it comes to decision-making in key areas. And I know there's a million different things you could look at in a 6-point game with everything that happened here, but it seems like right off the bat, the first 2 drives, just those 2 decisions, you're like, yeah, that kind of sums up the 2 programs, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think that certainly we'll get into it a little bit. We'll hear what the chat has to say. I'm sure a lot of people are going to now look back at that first drive of the game and feel like that was maybe a tone setter. And listen, the game is never decided on the first drive of the game, but it does set that tone. And in a game like this, where you look back and it's separated by a few plays, we knew it felt big in the moment. I think it looms even larger now. But Curtis, you know what's a great decision? Colin Walter Christmas Lighting of Arkansas.
Sure.
The holiday lighting experts. We are getting closer this holiday season with Halloween being just around the corner. And I know many of you love getting into the holiday spirit, but you might not have the time or resources to light up your house and wow the neighborhood. Luckily for you, Walter Christmas Lighting has you covered this fall and winter. If you're in Northwest Arkansas or the River Valley, have Walter Christmas Lighting install and set up your house with professional Halloween and Christmas lights like you've never seen before. Free maintenance throughout the holiday season. They install the lights for you and they take them down. And if you sign up for your Halloween lights, you get your Christmas lights for 50% off. So text our guy Brett for an estimate at 479-459-1380. You can also check out their website at walterchristmaslighting.com or like them on Facebook by scanning the QR code on your screen. It's Walter Christmas Lighting of Arkansas, your local holiday lighting experts. Curtis, I'm going to talk about the defenses for a minute here. That's what I'm going to talk about in this 41-35 game that had nearly 1,000 yards of total offense. It felt, of course, like a video game of, hey, we can score at will here. And you watch both these offenses play, and you kind of think, man, it's going to take a penalty or a turnover or just some stupid decision or just a misfire in a big way, something to keep these offenses out. It wasn't going to be the defense stepping up here. But I got to say, the second quarter, Ole Miss outscores Arkansas 24-21 in the second quarter. After a 7-7 first quarter. So it's 31-28 going into half. The second half score, Ole Miss outscores Arkansas 10-7. They asked Lane Kiffin at halftime, and he said, hey, we're usually a really good second half defensive adjustment team. And so we'll see how that plays out. I don't know. You can make a case how many adjustments did they really make. It didn't take a whole lot. But again, we go back to that first drive of the game. That was the only stop of the first half, was Arkansas missing that field goal from Scott Starzik on 4th and 2 for a 51-yard attempt. Outside of that, it didn't take much. Both teams got stops to start the second half. It didn't take much defensively. Did you feel like Ole Miss made the better adjustments that Arkansas just maybe wasn't able to, or do you just feel like this was a case of, or someone had to make a mistake and Arkansas made the mistake? Arkansas blinked first.
That's kind of how I feel, that Arkansas wound up blinking first there. Yeah, they traded the stops. Arkansas had the 2 missed field goals there, which stinks, but at the end of the day, I got to give Ole Miss credit for a couple of the drives that they had there, a little bit more sustained. They had in the second half alone, they had that 12-play scoring drive that took about 5 minutes off the clock. They had the 9-play scoring drive to give them the field goal that made it a 13-point game. They bled more clock. We were talking about time of possession. I don't know what it wound up being. Arkansas very well may have won it, but I thought they did a better job in the second half. And then it's kind of interesting because it wasn't bend but don't break in this game for the defenses. It was bend and eventually break. And, for Arkansas, when they were making that run there, what was that scoring drive? Yeah, it took 6 minutes, 11 plays, 75 yards, 6 minutes bled off the clock there. And so for a second, I was wondering, well, is it going to take too long for Arkansas? Are they going to have enough time if they wind up getting a stop? Turns out they did. You know what I mean? They had plenty of time once they got down in the near the red zone with the 2-minute warning, and then you fumble the damn football. So no, I don't really think it was an adjustment deal, Andrew. At some point, you have to think a team is not going to score every single possession, and that's kind of what happened. But just that turnover, man, it just sucks. It just sucks, man. Jaylen Brown played well, and they just stripped it right out from underneath him. And got to hang on to the football there. You didn't, and that's your ball game right there. The only way Ole Miss was going to stop Arkansas there was that Arkansas stopped itself. That's how it felt the entire game. And it was going to be something like that with a fumble, or Talon finally throwing that interception after he tried to like 3 or 4 times throughout the course of the game. That was the only way. If it's just line up, run a play against their defense, Arkansas was going to go down there and score. They did the whole damn game, but they made the mistake. Like you said, they blinked first, and there you have it. Yeah,
we had a turnoverless football game until the game deciding turnover happened. Penalties very similar as well. Arkansas 7 for 68, Ole Miss 7 for 63. I think the part that's going to be tough for Razorback fans to process, aside from the fact that you let a backup quarterback completely dice you up, and then you let the injured quarterback come in and throw a pivotal touchdown against tough, you.
By the way,
that's a tough one. And it also, when we talk about big picture, how we evaluate this team moving forward, it's going to be really hard to look past that. Like, this was supposed to be an ideal matchup for you. Not really, because it's a Lane Kiffin offense, but a matchup where you felt like you had a decided advantage at quarterback. You felt like you had maybe a little bit more continuity with your roster. I mean, Heartbroken Hog before the game made a good point where he's like, team talent, not a huge separation. And Arkansas's got the senior at quarterback versus two, shaky quarterbacks, or so we thought. And so for those seeming advantages for Arkansas to be alleviated, I think is tough. And I think what's hard to process is that it's not like, you look at any of these one things like Scott Starzik missing the second field goal or even missing the first one. That's not Sam Pittman's fault, although, of course, the first one you can make that decision. Jaylen Brown fumbling, that's not Sam Pittman's fault. Arkansas not having a great defensive game plan, that can be Sam Pittman's fault. But, of course, I think a lot of that blame is going to go on Travis Williams. But I think the frustrating part is you just look over at that other sideline, and, again, anytime a play needed to be made, anytime a break in the game needed to happen, it just felt like Ole Miss was able to make it work, and they're the home team. They were favored by 6.5 early on. They end up winning by 6. In a lot of ways, it played out the way that many expected. But coming into the week, we felt like this was an opportunity for Arkansas to make a statement and be like, hey, you had this awesome transfer portal cycle, but here we are right there with you. And it just sucks. Like, it's even more heartbreaking because the opportunity was so freaking close. And credit to Arkansas for not giving up. When it was 41-28, man, I really was like, oh, man, they might end up losing. I had thrown Arkansas on a 10-point teaser and had them plus 16.5, and I was starting to sweat it out like, oh, crap, they might just roll over and quit here. They didn't roll over and quit. This isn't like a dying program that hates their head coach or anything. They played hard. They played well at times. They just weren't quite good enough to pick up a huge marquee signature win. And I don't know what we do about that big picture as we move forward, because this team can win games. They're going to be competitive in almost every single game they play this year, I'd imagine. But I just can't really buy into a super high ceiling for this team because the margin for error is so small. And I think we saw that tonight.
Yeah, no, we definitely did. And, everybody's aware of Pittman's record in 1-score games. And, it's just been one of those things they haven't been able to figure out for whatever reason. And I'm just kind of scanning through the chat as I listen to you, Andrew, and I see a lot of people just looking at who to blame.
Right.
Blame this. Don't blame this. Don't blame that. Blame Sam. Don't blame him. Blame Talon. It wasn't him. Blame Jaylen Brown. Blame Scott Starzik. Blame Travis Williams. There's plenty of blame to go around anytime that there's a loss, just like there's plenty of credit to be given anytime that you have a win. It's just it's a team thing here, and they came up one play short. And so you can choose how you want to feel about that. You know what I mean? Like, hey, you went on the road. You played, like Mark has said 35,000 times in the chat here. It was a 1-score game against a top 20 team on the road. Disregard all the other facts that went into that there, but you can feel that way if you want to and come out encouraged and say, well, they'll get better as the season goes along and woo pig, right? Or you can look at it and you can say, good God, they're not going to stop anybody defensively the entire season. This could get ugly. If you want to feel that way, feel that way. But, I don't look at this game and feel any different about Sam Pittman than I did before. I don't feel any different about this defense that I did before. I'm still excited about the offense. I still think they're going to win some football games and they're going to be competitive. But there are some limitations. And we knew that going into the year. I don't think anybody came into the season thinking that, well, some of you did. I didn't come into the season thinking this is going to be a 10-win football team. So you're going to have some flaws. Some teams are going to be able to expose them better than others. Ole Miss was able to expose the Arkansas defense in a big way tonight. And they still barely got out of there with a win, but they did at the end of the day. So is what it is. And now you got to regroup before this game against Memphis, because we keep going back to this whole thing about how is this season going to go for Arkansas? Are they going to be toiling in mediocrity? Can they get to 8 wins or the wheel's going to come off? Are they going to go 4-8? Really the beginning stretch of the season here, which I think started this week. And unless you really thought they were going to lose to Alabama A&M or Arkansas State, it really started this week with this game. And then you got the game at Memphis, and then you got Notre Dame before you get to that bye. And you got to regroup after a frustrating loss here and go take care of business against Memphis, because you go and dick around in that game. And then we really have to start worrying about, oh God, where is this headed? I'm not there right now. I look at it and I feel the same way I did. I predicted Arkansas to lose this game at the beginning of the season. I had them 6-6 at the end of the year. That's about what I think they're going to be.
Yeah. And, Curtis, you touch on something very interesting in terms of looking for someone to blame. And I think that's what we do as sports fans all the time. That's why so many people say, oh, the ref screwed us. Or I think, and Curtis, call me crazy, I think Hog fans are haunted by mediocrity more than they are haunted by just being bad. We all hated the Chad Morris era. We all talk about it, and it was horrible, and nobody wants to relive that. But we, at least as Hog fans, can look back at that era and say, yeah, but that was that was an anomaly. That was Chad Morris. We have a very clear person, a figurehead to blame for that, and we all have no issue. Of course, that's the guy to blame. it would be easier. And I think some people want Sam Pittman to be that. They would rather Sam Pittman just be, oh, well, I mean, this whole program, it's all Sam Pittman. He's just a moron and he's incompetent. He's the guy to, fire Sam Pittman. That's what we do. Or maybe fire Scott Fountain, maybe fire T. Will, whatever. I think it's much more haunting to just look at your team and make the realization they are average and they have a pretty limited ceiling. And I'm not even declaring that statement to be true right now about Arkansas, but that is the worry that I think that's the biggest fear of Hog fans is just coming to the terms that, hey, maybe this isn't going to be the best season of all time, or it's going to be the worst season of all time where you get rid of Sam Pittman. Maybe you are just average and you're good enough to win on your best day. You're good enough to lose on your worst day, and you're good enough to be in these one-score games, and then maybe you come through, maybe you don't, and today you didn't. I think that is what Hog fans are having, because it's easier to contextualize when you can just point and say, oh, well, we lost because Jaylen Brown fumbled, and maybe some people will do that. Or, hey, we lost because we didn't have film on the D2 quarterback. And again, like you said, you can do all that. You can feel however you want to feel, but sometimes you just kind of have to look at the product and say, this is what it is. Like they went 6-6 last year. They lost a lot of guys, replaced a lot of guys. It's about the same level of team, and we'll just see how it plays out. But that is a very haunting realization to just realize you're average. You would almost rather be bad or just be awesome, of course. And so, Curtis, if it's okay with you, I'm going to hop right into the chat because I feel like we've got a lot of people that have a lot of things to say, man. But before we do that, of course, I want to give a shout out to one of our favorite sponsors, OZK Insurance. Nobody wants to deal with the hassle of shopping around, and that's why I use and recommend OZK Insurance. They're based right here in Arkansas, and they shop multiple carriers to find the best coverage and price for you, whether it's home, auto, business, you name it. Whether it's Saturdays at Razorback Stadium or everyday life, you want protection you can count on with over 600 5-star Google reviews. So count on OZK Insurance and get a free online quote at ozkinsurance.com or call 479-715-4200. OZK Insurance, protection made simple. I see, by the way, appreciate everybody. I know it's, I know it's heartbreaking. I know it sucks. And I know that some of you maybe just come here to process and figure out how you feel, but we appreciate you being here nonetheless. We're going to try to get to as many chats as we can, but of course, we got to start with the supers because those are the cool ones. Landon Jackson, not that Landon Jackson, but a very loyal Landon Jackson, says, no Talon slander. That defense sucks. He truly is the X factor. Going to need Heisman numbers from him every night to win. I think this is kind of an accurate assessment. And by the way, there are worse places to be in college football, honestly, than to be like, hey, we've got this cool quarterback that can make a lot of things happen, and our game is going to depend on if he can put on that Superman cape or not. But I definitely think Talon Green. Do you feel, Curtis, like Talon maybe earned a little bit of respect? Like, I know this isn't going to like detract and everything. It doesn't make up for everything in his career, but did you see did you see any improvement compared to maybe the Talon we saw last year?
I thought he was really good. I don't know who's slandering him. Maybe it's something going on in the chat. I thought he was the reason why Arkansas was in position to win the game. I tweeted out after they scored to make it a 6-point game, like, all we need is a stop here and Talon to get the ball back with a little bit of time for Arkansas to win this game. It turns out that happened, and they had the turnover there. It wasn't on him. I thought he was great, man. I mean, he threw for 300 yards. He didn't turn the football over. He rushed for over 100. What the hell do you want from him? Like, he missed some throws here and there, but he threw it 35 times throughout the course of the game. He's dynamic, man. He's electric. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC, and the pathway for Arkansas to exceed expectations this season is him to be this guy. And we know that that's not enough. We found that out tonight. But yeah, I have no issues at all with Talon Green and the way that he played throughout the course of this football game. I hope he stays healthy. I know he was really favoring that right leg. Maybe it was just a cramp or something, that hamstring. I don't know. But I thought he was great, man. I don't have any issues with Talon at all.
Absolutely. I mean, in a few numbers, by the way, just under 9 yards an attempt, 305 yards through the air, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions, completed 63%, led Arkansas in rushing for the second straight week, I believe, or actually did not lead him in rushing last week, but it's his second straight 100-yard game, has 111 yards on 13 carries in this game, led Arkansas in attempts and yards by a very large margin. I think I'm a little surprised, if I'm being honest, at how dependent Arkansas is on Talon in the run game. And Mike Washington had, the big run early. That was pretty much it for him. Braylon Russell, I thought, actually had some good moments in this game. His stat line doesn't look great, 9 for 37, 4 yards a carry. But he had the touchdown. I thought he fought hard in there. Arkansas really doesn't have a traditional run game. And this is something we talked about coming into the game. There's a lot of explosion. In these SEC games, they're going to need Talon to run the ball a good amount.
Yep.
You just got to hope and pray and knock on wood that he stays as healthy as possible. They can get him in the ice baths, get him in that recovery, because like we said, they're going to need him. And it's not just going to be to make good decisions through the air, which he is going to have to continue to do, continue to be efficient. They need him to spark this run game, or else they really don't have much else.
Yeah, I mean, that's very true. I was encouraged by some of the things that I saw in the run game, but yeah, the between the tackles, not one of them. It's just, I'm really pleased with the protection, man. Talon had all day. He had all day to sit back there and throw. We got to see Corey Robinson out there in space knocking some heads again. Love what he's doing over there at left tackle. Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of things to like, with the offense in general. It's defensive issues, man. As long as Talon's not turning the football over, or as long as Arkansas is not turning the football over, the offense is going to score points. You got to stop the other team from scoring just occasionally. Just offer just a slight amount of resistance, just every now and then, maybe get a stop, force a punt, a long field goal, something, anything. You just didn't have that today.
So you had the stop to start the second half.
Yeah.
And I guess there was then you had to stop in the fourth quarter, which, by the way, that drive by Ole Miss was one of the worst drives I've seen by an offense trying to put a game away. Two incomplete passes and then a scramble out of bounds. You burn like 12 seconds off the clock when you're trying to put the game away. That was a stop. Outside of that, you had 2 field goals. One was a legitimate goal line kind of stand there. The other they kicked because time was expiring in the second quarter. You got to do more than 2 stops over the course of 4 hours of football. That's rough, man. Appreciate Fishing with Chief for the super chat. I hope I didn't miss the follow-up chat. It's easier when it's Inside Arkansas Live and there's less chats here. But if you did have one, Fishing with Chief, I apologize. But we appreciate you for being here, man. And Storytime Plays with the super chat says, I have hog fatigue in all sports, always the same ending. Is that true? Every sport? This particular athletic calendar year, it has been.
I was going to say, let's think about how basketball and baseball seasons ended, and then,
Fair enough. I guess I was just thinking in regular, because this is week 3 of the regular season. Yeah, like the postseason a little bit. Yeah. But okay. Fair enough. Stella,
it's brutal, actually.
Stellar Matt 13 says 2 missed field goals partially cost us the game. I would say that is
6 points in a 6-point game. Yeah,
that's 6 points in a 6-point game. Although one could really argue, and I will argue, he shouldn't have kicked that 51-yard field goal. I don't know why, especially with the way this game played out, of how easily the offenses were moving. And you could say, oh well, who knew that it was going to be this up and down slug? Everyone, we all knew.
Everyone knew it, and don't win the coin toss and elect to receive and then be conservative. Yeah. That's my biggest thing about it.
Yeah. It's funny, Curtis, we talked about it on the pregame, and we were saying, and I think the way I worded it was like, I wonder if Lane Kiffin going for it a lot would maybe influence Sam to want to go for it. The problem is Lane Kiffin did not have an opportunity before Sam Pittman had his first opportunity.
True.
And I wonder, Curtis, if they flipped it and Ole Miss had their drive where they go for it on 4th down and get stopped, by the way, but you get a penalty to extend it and then you score, you think that changes the decision-making? Like if it had just been flipped, do you think Sam Pittman probably goes for it, especially because he would have been down 7-0? That's actually a huge deal. If Arkansas had lost the coin toss, it's maybe a different game.
Yeah, maybe so. Maybe so. And they didn't have that many other opportunities, because when it's 3rd and Talon, which is anything 3rd and 10 or longer, it's a guaranteed first down. Damn near every time. Listen, Talon Green on 3rd and long.
Oh my God, he's unreal.
It's crazy, man. He almost always makes the play. His conversion rate on 3rd and longs is unbelievable. At 3rd and short, it's almost like a completely different story. 3rd and long, that dude is it's crazy. I bet my firstborn son tonight on a 3rd and 10. They went to a break, and I was like, I bet my firstborn son he is going to get this first down running the football.
He converted it with his legs.
No big deal.
Back-to-back possessions. Ole Miss did it, and then Arkansas did it. Back-to-back possessions where a 3rd and long was converted with a QB run. I'm going to read the text here from Curtis, and this is fact check. At 7:40 p.m., I get a text from Curtis. I bet my firstborn child, Talon Green, gets this first down here. He's not lying. By the way, I said Fishing with Chief. I hope I didn't miss his follow-up message. He did have a follow-up message. He gave us another super chat, and he agrees with your sentiment, Curtis. Elect to get the ball to start the game, just to put your kicker in to kick a 51-yard field goal and miss play man all night and have guys running wide open. All we will ever get with Pittman's games, we could have won. It's hard for me to disagree with that, man. Like, there's just too many of these situations. This one is less egregious than like the Oklahoma State game last year, or maybe some other ones in past, but this is another one where it's just like, damn.
Yeah. I mean, I wish I could push back, but I can't.
It's one of those things where this loss in and of itself, I can look at it and say, well, it's not that big of a deal. That's not a bad Sam Pittman. But then when you add them all up and add all the one-score losses and add the record, it's hard to deny. But we appreciate Cannon C for being a member for 4 months. He says, why does it have to be this way? Love you, Curtis. Glad to see you.
Well, it's the Arkansas way, my friend. But love you too, buddy. Good to see you. Appreciate everybody for all the well wishes and everything throughout the course of the past week here. We're going to slowly start getting back into it a little bit more frequently next week, and then hopefully be back full on rolling here pretty soon. So
did this game set you back, your timeline where you were like, I was gonna dive back in, but
yes,
in less of a hurry to get back to the daily work.
What's really going to do it is when I get off of this show and it's my shift, and you're just trying to unwind after a disappointing loss. The baby doesn't get it. He's just freaking out for the next few hours. Then tomorrow I'm gonna be sitting around like, yeah, I'm definitely not hopping back on Monday. Sorry.
Yeah, I hear you, man. Chris, we appreciate the super chat from him. He says, we've got an elite offense, one of the best in a decade, but the defense is so awful it cancels it out. They don't just play average. They're so bad that they completely neuter the offense. Yeah, man. And this is a correct take. And I hate to keep harping on the 4th and 2 at the start of the game, but it's like, it makes it even worse. Like that aged even worse, knowing how the game played out and knowing. And again, we can say, oh, well, that's hindsight. Who could have possibly known? I think everyone kind of knew when you're going into a game at Oxford against the Lane Kiffin offense. I don't care who's at quarterback. And you know what you have on defense. You know what your personnel is. You know what your secondary is. You know what your defensive line is. It just got worse and worse throughout the game, man.
Yeah.
And, T Razorback agrees. He says Pittman taking the ball to start and then not going 4th and 2 made 0 sense. Yeah.
Okay. And so I see that. And like, that's one decision throughout the course of the football game. I get it. And Pittman was pissed a lot early in that game with some, I know on the field goal there, what was it like? They used the guy for leverage there to try to block the kick, and you can't do that. They didn't get the flag. I know there's some plays here and there where he wasn't happy about it. I've got a job for intern Cameron. I've seen Mark in the chat. He said a lot of things about 36 times in a row, and one of them is Sam is the reason why Arkansas almost won the game. I just want to know why he feels that way. I'm not saying Sam Pittman's the reason Arkansas lost the game. I'm not saying that at all, but like, what decisions did he make that we felt like kept Arkansas in this football game? Like, what role did he play in this? Because he seems pretty adamant about that. So this is an interactive show. I just like his reasoning. If he would,
do you remember Mark from last year, Curtis?
I do. Yes, I do.
Yeah,
we thought it was a bot for the longest.
Yeah, we did. We were questioning. Well, it's because he spams the same chats, and so it's like if you're doing that, it does feel a little bit body.
Yeah.
Stellar Matt comes back and says the offensive line is an upgrade from last year. This is a fact, I would say. And they were a bad offensive line last year, so I don't know if do you want to cook or anything, but without a doubt, the pass protection specifically, night and day better. It is still going to be interesting. Like, I think there's, it's just a different style of run, which, by the way, has been effective. Arkansas's run the ball extremely effectively in all 3 games this year, getting outside, making things play. I think it's actually a great job. I'm going to give credit to the Arkansas coaching staff of identifying what kind of offense you want. You know your quarterback. You know what you want to do schematically. They went out and got the guys to do it. I feel like because that's the thing, when you have a bad offensive line, it hampers what you can do as an offense. All of a sudden, your playbook shrinks down a little bit. I don't feel that way about this offensive line. Are they the best unit in the country? I don't know. Are they the most physical in the run game? Probably not, but I don't feel like there is any play where I'm like, well, Arkansas can't draw up this shot play because they can't protect, or, oh, this defensive lineman is going to give them a huge issue. I thought they all held up pretty well. I mean, we'll see the numbers tomorrow, but through 3 weeks, the pass protection has been way, way improved to where it's one of the better pass pro units in the league compared to one of the worst last year. Yeah,
it was a joke this year or last year, and this year you don't really have to worry about it. So, worst case, you've gone from really bad to average, and maybe you're above average. It was your Achilles heel, man, and now it's not. And so it does unlock a lot of things for this offense, and that is something that we've seen through the course of 3 weeks here. I mean, what were they averaging? 54 points a game coming into this. They had 35 on the road in the SEC tonight. that's a pretty good sign of what might be to come here moving forward. I imagine they're going to shove it down Memphis's throat, although they only gave up like 135 total yards today to a Troy team that went on the road the week before and had Clemson in deep waters, which I found interesting, but still, I think that they're going to have some success next week.
Curtis, I'm glad you mentioned Clemson. So Drake here says we might have the best QB in the nation, and we failed him tonight. And this is a worthwhile sentiment. And this y'all might see this and think that is crazy. How Taylor's not, and I'm not saying he's the best quarterback in the country. Look, whoever you think the best quarterbacks are in the country, watch them play 4 quarters of football next weekend whenever you can. I watched Cade Klubnik at Georgia Tech today. Taylor Green is objectively better at football than Cade Klubnik. Like, I know he had great numbers last year. I know he beat up on Cans. Taylor is better at football than that guy. Haynes King, by the way, was awesome in the game. He in the run game. I think if you watched him and Taylor play, there's not really. I'm not saying Taylor's way better, but there's not a huge gap there. Garrett Nussmeier is very good, but like even him tonight against Florida, struggling to get things going. It's like whoever you think the best quarterback in the country is, Taylor's a lot closer to it than I think people realize.
It's not Arch Manning.
He's better than Arch Manning. That's for damn sure. I mean, seriously, like there's good quarterbacks around the country, and I'm not saying Taylor is the best. I'm not even arguing that. But I think if you watch some of these other guys play, you start to have an appreciation for just how dangerous Taylor is play to play.
There are very few quarterbacks in this country that I would trade straight up. Or with Taylor Green.
Yeah, I could find guys, but none of them would I be like, hell yeah, I'm definitely without a doubt. I'm at least asking for a prospect to be named later.
Yeah, a corner to be named now or something.
Yeah. Showtime Productions, shout out to him, member for 4 months, says the stubbornness of Trav running man coverage most of the game while not being able to cover a soul makes no sense to me. You guys could be better DBs.
I don't know about the last.
I don't agree with that assessment. You have not seen the way I've been eating this weekend, man. I am not going to go out there and guard any of these receivers.
And they also, if you're going to do that, you weren't able to get any pressure either. So I don't know, man. It was just a bad situation all around. When you've got the combination of you can't cover and you can't get to the quarterback, that's just a recipe for disaster. And we saw that with like the first half, like you mentioned, touchdown, and field goal because you ran out of time. That's what happens.
Yeah. And I remember Curtis, the day we were at the Hot Springs Marina and we were doing our Freedom Boat Club show. It was the day that Marcus Woodson went to the press conference in fall camp and was like, yeah, we love our personnel. We're going to run more man coverage. The same way Scott Fountain says, we love our depth. We've got more depth than we've ever had. Our special teams units are great. And I want to give us credit because we just straight up called BS. We were just like, there's no way. And I guess we were proven wrong because they are running a lot of man coverage, but we very much had questions about like, is that really what you're going to do? We felt like it was only a matter of time before we start mixing in the 3-man fronts and running that rush 3, drop 8, super zone that they ran against Tennessee, that they've run in against Ole Miss. That's what the Matt Corral's 6 interception game came when they just said, hey, let's just rush 3 and drop 8 and just see how this, keep everything in front of us. I think that might have to be the move here, and we'll just see how this works out. But given the deficiencies of the corners and the defensive line, I give it maximum 3 weeks before we start seeing the 3-man fronts and the zone looks and the Barry Odom ball, as they call it.
The Barry ball.
Only did that at Arkansas because of the personnel, but people were like, oh, Barry Odom, he loves that 3-man front.
Yep.
Shout out to our guy, Dre. We love seeing him in the chat. He says, another day, another close loss.
You get numb to it, man. I get it.
And he's even got the numbers here from 2020 to 2024. We have 17 one-score losses. I wonder, does that include tonight? Either way, not fun.
It's a lot.
Not fun. Landon Shaver, not to be confused with Arkansas's incoming freshman position player for the Diamond Hogs, Landon Schaefer. This is Landon Shaver. He says, got to be better with timeouts again. Daniel Shee, I saw tweeted about this. There are a lot of times where Arkansas has to waste a timeout for no reason. I think Talon called timeout because he was hurt or when he was cramping earlier. There was like 6 seconds on the play clock. He calls timeout. It does seem like Arkansas uses their timeouts. Like they never get to a situation at the end of the game and have all 3. Like that just never happens. We got Mr. TW. I guess that's T-Dub. Is that T-Will? Is that Travis Williams? He says, once again, an offense went through our defense like gas station sushi. Pittman's ceiling is average. No notes. This is a great comment, and we appreciate the super chat, man. Arkansas says this team is exactly what I expected. Really good offense, suspect defense, 6-6 season incoming. Taylor will need to play a full season for anything better. In parentheses, not happening.
I hope it does happen, but I mean, I think we're on the same wavelength, brother. I fear that you're right.
I remember after the Alabama A&M game, because last year when Arkansas played UAPB, Taylor looked good in that game, and Malachi Singleton came in and looked good, and KJ Jackson even came in and looked good. I didn't think Arkansas could afford to have Taylor Green go down, but I didn't come away from that game saying, man, they're a Taylor injury away from being 3-9. And I really don't think last year's team would have gone 3-9 without Taylor Green. I think they would have sucked. They would have went 4-8, maybe 5-7, but I don't think they were like a disaster without Taylor Green.
Yeah.
I mean, they won the Tennessee game in the fourth quarter without him. This year's team, Curtis, I feel like if Taylor Green were not here, this is definitely a 3-9 team, and that's including the 2 wins that they already have.
Yeah, it gets ugly in a hurry without TG.
Exclusive Carts, who does a great job on these. These are golf carts, by the way. Does a great job on these post-game shows. He says, we lost the game because of defense and missed field goals, though I wouldn't have thrown out the freshman kicker out there for a 51 yards in that crowd for his first kick. Offense looked amazing. 1 punt. Defense can't stop nosebleed. Yeah, I mean, again, it's like we all kind of have the same sentiment, but it's the correct sentiment of like, This offense is awesome. They're fun to watch. The defense is not, and I think we got kind of a rude reminder of that. Curtis, do you think anyone from fall camp is going to come back and apologize for being like – because there were people that in fall camp when we were like, hey, this defense might not be very good. People were very offended by it. Like a lot of people were like, that's speculation. Why are y'all saying that? T. Will's going to have these boys rolling. We got transfers in the secondary. Like, come on, man. And we didn't even say definitively that they suck. We were just like, there's a lot of question marks, and we'll see if they answered them. They went out and got some guys in the portal. You went out and get Kenai Walker, which, by the way, of course, reiterate, we hope he's okay. You go out and get Julian Neal. You go out and get Keyshawn Davila. And I said, is that much different than the guys you went out and got last year? I didn't think so, but everyone else seemed to think so. D-line, I didn't think they did anything to address that, but some people disagreed. Do you think anybody's going to come back and be like, damn, maybe you guys weren't crazy when you were like just merely asking questions about the defense?
No, they won't do that. And if it's a similar situation next year, it'll be the same song and dance where, we get painted as haters or whatever for trying to be transparent about things. And then the Kool-Aid sipping will start as we get into fall camp, and everybody gets excited because everybody's excited about football and you want your team to do well. And then if there's the inevitable reality check, then people are just going to be pissed off at that.
Yeah.
You know how it is.
Unfortunately, I do.
Yeah.
Appreciate you, Cat John Nice, $4.99 super chat. Hope we didn't miss a follow-up comment. Shout out to Tamra, our loyal supporter, says thanks for great coverage and putting up with all the emotions in a reaction show.
That's why I love these, though, honestly, because we do the report cards for football and for hoops and all that stuff where we dive in a little bit deeper and look at the grades and all that. That's all great. That's fine and dandy. I like these reaction shows because I just like to get a pulse for how everybody's feeling. And sometimes I don't feel the way the chat feels. And I look at that and I go, okay, well, why? Should I? Should I subscribe to groupthink? What is this? And sometimes it's very split. And I felt that way after a couple games this season, especially the first game, where if you remember, some people were like, it's the best thing I've ever seen. Other people were like, they gave up a touchdown on the first drive. This team sucks. We knew it. And I felt like it was very divided. There wasn't a lot of gray area. It wasn't a lot of middle ground. It was just the two very opposite ends of the spectrum. And I look at this one today and I see a lot of people have come to the realization of, yeah, this defense is going to be a big problem for real, isn't it? And some people look at that and they go, yeah, we suck again, burn it all down. This is crazy. And others are like, man, it just sucks because it's going to hamper what could be a really fun and potentially special even offense. I mean, this could be a really, really good offense compared to a lot of the great ones that Arkansas has had in the past. And that wasn't something that I was necessarily willing to get on board with. And I'm not saying it's going to be the best offense in program history where people are comparing it to some of the better ones that, Bobby had during his run at Arkansas and, the best year under KB and everything like that. I was like, I don't know, man, like they could be better than last year, but I don't know if I can go that far with this personnel. But looking at him with the strides that Taylor has made, and I do think the O-line is better, between Mike Washington and Braylon. And you're right. I thought Braylon made some good runs tonight. I've seen enough, I think, from Omega Blake and the other guys as being complementary pieces. Jaylen Brown, CJ Brown, Raylan Sharp got a little bit going. Jaden Platt got a little bit going. This could be a really fun offense, man. And I hope that they can make the right adjustments, patch up enough of the holes defensively to let that yield some more wins. But it's hard not to be a little bit skeptical about that after a night like tonight.
Absolutely. You mentioned the offense and how like it has a chance to be very special, and I feel like it is that. Like I really do feel like I'm not saying this is better than Mallett's offense. I'm not even saying it's better than the 2021 offense. Or I think that when you compare it to a lot of the better ones, I think this is going to stack up from a stat standpoint. And I know I keep sounding like I'm just patting us on our backs here, but like me and you did a stat projection show before the season, just kind of trying to get a sense of what were some expectations for some of these guys. And I was with you as well, where I'm like, I didn't even necessarily buy that this offense was way better talent-wise than last year, although I would say that the O-line certainly is a lot better and Taylon's better and so cool. But one thing that we both agreed on is that Taylon had a chance, and we said this again, this is over a month ago, we said Taylon had a chance to break school records for rushing touchdowns, rushing yardage by QB, total yards from scrimmage. I mean, he was like 400 yards, or not even 400. He was like 200 yards away from breaking the record last year. He's on pace to absolutely shatter it. Like, again, not saying he's the best quarterback in school history or this is the best offense in school history, but it's like, it sucks that this is one that if you year by year, Arkansas's had a lot of offenses worse than this. Most of the offenses of our lifetime have been substantially worse than this. It just sucks because it's like, as much as I would love to be excited about that, I worry that it's not, I'm wasted as a stretch. I really don't like, saying that, but it's like, it does feel like it's like, man, is it really going to result in this awesome season? Maybe it's just the inverse of 2014 when they had that top 10 defense in the country and went 7-6.
Yep.
Stellar Matt 13 says, this Texas A&M Notre Dame game has me queasy. I have not watched it because obviously Arkansas was playing. It was a track meet. I saw it was a damn track meet. How about those two offenses just cooking?
Well,
so
it's 40-34 Notre Dame, and there's 19 seconds left, and A&M is on their 11-yard line. So,
oh wow! So it's like literally coming down to the wire.
I think Notre Dame just lost.
No way! A&M game-winning touchdown.
Well, I just saw Brett McMurphy tweeted, "Oh no, Fighting Irish, goodbye college football playoff." So they might have just pissed it away right there. Yeah, I see some people in the chat now. Tie game, I guess. But yeah.
So I guess they're about to put, kick the extra point.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, Curtis, you want to know a bet? I know I'm patting myself on the back a lot. You want to know a bet that I placed tonight, Curtis? I had a three-team round robin. So it takes every combination of two money lines. Arkansas Razorbacks, obviously not going to hit. Vanderbilt Commodores, Texas A&M Aggies. So obviously I was like 18 yards away from that being a great, but if A&M does pull it off, that's going to be massive. That's I'll have to go back and watch that game, but that's intriguing to me that those offenses played in a 41-40 shootout.
Yeah.
Makes me, and he said I don't know if Stellar Matt, he said it makes him queasy. I wonder if that was just because it was a close game or if he's watching these offenses and he's like, sheesh, they're about to tear Arkansas a new one, man.
Right. Man, oh man.
Smelliot says Austin Simmons is just as mad at the Hogs as we are. He has to play scout team this week. I mean, listen, this is a Wally Pippen. If I've ever seen a Wally Pippen, it's rare that you see a Wally Pip happen with the senior quarterback that comes in.
Yeah.
They took that on the commentary. They were like, I mean, obviously he hadn't played in the SEC. This is his first FBS start, but like Chambliss has played a lot more college football, and it's D2 football. It's not the same, but it's like he's got a lot more experience running an offense, being a part of a winning team. I think that made a difference, man. And
he's old enough to buy a beer if he wants to.
In your very brief Inside Arkansas Live appearance the other day, that was one of the things we talked about is like, are we sure that it's a good thing for Arkansas that Austin Simmons is on the injury report?
He would have turned it over. Although he came in, kudos to him for literally having one leg and rushing for that first down and then just throwing the most gift-wrapped touchdown pass in the history of touchdown passes. And what do you have, like 3 snaps there?
That went into a tight window, Curtis. I don't know what you mean.
Yeah.
Drake Jones says, pray for Memphis. This team is going to have a fire lit under their ass next week. 45-24 Hogs. I mean, sure, I guess. Yeah, I'm sure Arkansas will be motivated. I'm sure they will want to, get back on the field and be motivated to play well. That is an interesting takeaway from this game, I will say.
If Arkansas has a fire lit under its ass next week, I would hope it beats Memphis worse than 45-24. I'm not taking anything away from Memphis. I mean, they've had 3 wins to start the year here. I thought they looked pretty good today. That was a nice win on the road at Troy, the way that they did it, and they really shut them down there. But Arkansas needs to go in there and kick their ass, man. Like legitimately. So I agree. Having the fire lit needs to be something that happens there. They need to pound these dudes.
Having been a guy who has bet on Memphis multiple times this year and won money on Memphis multiple times this year and watched them, their offense is not dynamic by any stretch of the imagination. No. If they score 24 points on Arkansas, which, maybe they will, maybe they won't. I mean, obviously tonight is an indication, but if they score 24 on Arkansas, that means Arkansas's defense is even worse than it was tonight. Like, honestly, if they score 24, I'm going to be like livid. I'm going to be like, damn. I would not describe that as a fire lit under their ass. And by the way, we don't, Taylor McGregor reported, of course, during the game, which shout out to her, inside Arkansas friend, reported that Kenai Walker was, stable. His extremities were moving. He's able to move around, and they took him as a precaution to the hospital. I don't know if Sam Pittman has given a further update. I imagine it'll probably be a day or two before we really hear anything on that front. But, Kelku absolutely says Kenai Walker with the praying hands emoji. Absolutely. Man, you just really hate to see that, man. That's got to be such a scary moment for families. I don't know if they were at the game or not, but just seeing a guy face down like that, and the knee to the back of the head. The back of the head's always a sketchy, like,
it didn't look good.
I'm really glad he was able to give that thumbs up. I know it may not seem like a big deal, and I know it's kind of a cliche, but it's like, that is cool, man. Like, it is cool to see the guy give the thumbs up and kind of, let you know that the world's not over.
Yeah.
Jacob Johnson says, I'm pretty sure the defense bet on Ole Miss to cover. Which, by the way, we talked a lot about the spread movement this week. This line opened at 10.5 some places, got all the way down to 3.5 by kickoff, Curtis.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people who bet on this game. Some got a number at 8, some got a number at 4, some got it at 6, some got it at 7. RIP to so many. I know there are some bet slips that people are just going nuts on. And this is another, by the way, prime example of these dudes in Vegas. There's a little something there. By the way, it was like 87% of the public had Arkansas in this game, like an overwhelming amount. That's how you have that line movement. I wonder how much that split. That's why that is a prime example of why these sports books move the line. If you start seeing all that money coming in, it's like, let's go ahead and bump this one down. And it mattered in this game. Yeah. Jeremy Stewart, our guy who we really appreciate, reps us at Bomb Walker. We'll never forget that. Says, just want to say congrats, Curtis. Happy to see the dynamic duo back again. Thank you, Andrew and Curtis.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate that. I'm excited to have the dynamic duo back together again. We had fun this morning, had fun tonight. Feels right. Missed the kiddo, but it feels right.
It does feel right. And even in the midst of the chaos, Curtis, I'm one of the best compliments anyone can give us. And I can't remember who it was. Maybe it was after the Alabama A&M game. Someone said, man, it makes me feel better hearing you guys talk about it. And I don't know what that what it was that we said, but thanks. That is like the best compliment someone could give is like, if after a game that breaks your heart, we made it even 1% better, that's nice, man. We appreciate that for real. Awesome. Sharkansas with a random Texas scouting report. He says he went to the game today. Texas is very beatable due to Arch clearly with a shoulder injury. Sark is lying. Bro was rolling his shoulder between every play. Yeah, got booed off the field at halftime, man. That's
stinks, man.
Crazy, man.
They don't look very. I mean, that defense is nasty, but that offense is sus, bro.
Last year when they came to Fayetteville, it was a very close, low scoring, came down to the wire type of game. We'll see how they are. That game's a long way away, but I could see a little something similar to that, man. Same could be said for LSU, by the way. Not the most explosive offense in the country, despite having Garrett Nussmeier. That offensive line at LSU, a little shaky, although they did get the job done against Florida.
Oh, they did? I did not see the final of that game. They won?
It was 2010 last I saw. I stopped paying attention. I assume they got the job done. Maybe someone can correct me if they didn't. Logan Smith says, I'm not worried when Taylor Green is our quarterback. The defense won't have a game like that again. Book it, boys. So listen, I mean, they gave up 41 points, and after the Ole Miss game last year, you could have said that same thing. They won't have a game like this again. That was an outlier for sure. This feels a little different. This does not feel like some outlier where they just had the right numbers. Because to your point you made earlier, Curtis, when it's just one-on-one and your guy beats our guy by 5 yards, it's a little tough. When it's, our linebacker on your running back and he gets the edge and makes your guy miss. I mean, Xavier Sori and Steven Dix, I love both of those guys. They've been awesome. they were picked on by this Ole Miss defense. And those are two of Arkansas's best players. And Kenai Walker, before the injury, got picked on a little bit. You just see, like, people find weaknesses with this Arkansas defense, and they exploit it. And Lane Kiffin, of course, is a master at doing that. And so, yeah, to your point, Logan, maybe not every offense in the SEC is going to have a play caller like Lane Kiffin, but they're going to have more experienced and more dynamic quarterbacks. They're going to have skill players that can make plays. You're still going to have deficiencies at every level of the defense. I don't necessarily buy that this is just a one-off, they just had a bad day type of thing.
This kid that came in and had over 400 yards of total offense on you, threw for 353. They didn't even let him throw a pass when he had to come in against Kentucky there. You know what I mean? It was handoff, keep, like very conservative. It's a Division II transfer who wasn't there in the spring and has had, whatever in the summer and fall camp to learn Lane Kiffin's offense. And it was the third game of the year. And he really, really took it to Arkansas there. And they had a full week to prepare for him. And they looked like they hadn't watched a single bit of film. So I hope that they don't have another game like this. You're right. They're going to face far more talented and dynamic passers. And they're also going to face, I think, significantly better defenses. So you hope you continue to get that out of Talon. They're going to be, facing some stiffer challenges on the other side of the ball as well. There's a lot to learn from the film from this game. I'll say that much. And hopefully they do that over the course of the next week here before they get out there again.
I'm not trying to I really am not trying to throw water on anyone's parade or whatever. But I want to touch on this comment from our boy Mark, who says he's happy with the result. We lost, but it was competitive. And I'm not picking on Mark, but Mark literally a few days ago was in the chat and he was like, this team's going 10-2. You guys watch. You're not giving them enough credit. They're way better than Ole Miss. They're going to beat Texas. They're going to beat LSU. I just don't know how you can go from that to I'm happy with the loss. Like it was a, moral victory type of thing. And hell, I asked on the show yesterday, I was like, would you guys be happy with a moral victory from this? If Arkansas lost close against Ole Miss, 30 people commented, no, because Arkansas fans were very optimistic about this game. And again, I'm not even knocking you guys for being optimistic. Like, of course, you want your team to win. They clearly were good enough to win this game. Like, we could easily, there's an alternate timeline where me and Curtis are sitting here saying, wow, Arkansas got it done. They're 3-0. Wasn't pretty, but they got it done. And man, they're on their great trajectory. I just don't know how you can be as confident as the Arkansas fan base was going into this game and telling everyone that picked against you, like me, that they're an idiot and that they, you're not giving us credit, blah, 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 to now you're like, well, it was, just a one-off and, this just happened. And I keep coming back to preseason. We had it would be one thing if preseason we were like, hey, Arkansas's loaded at corner and they got a great pass rush. And then you have a game where that turns out to not be the case and you're like, oh, okay, do we adjust? We came in thinking these were issues and have now been affirmed with a game like that it is an issue. I don't know, man. Again, I'm just not I didn't view it through the same lens as some of these people, I don't believe.
I could talk myself into the moral victory thing, honestly, with if you just looked at you were on the road to open the SEC against the top 20 team and you had the ball with the chance to win and with 2 minutes left and you turned it over, you lost. Like you had every opportunity to do it. But I can't ignore that it was a Division II quarterback who hasn't been in the system that shoved it on you. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to take anything away from that kid. He was very well prepared. He executed. He did it. He played a hell of a game, man. There's no excuse. There's zero excuse for him to do what he did against the defense. It should have been, if this was going to happen tonight, it should have been Ole Miss's defense really balled out and they were creating a bunch of havoc or whatever. And they did just enough offensively, or they got like a defensive touchdown. And they beat you or whatever. This dude beat you by himself in this football game. I'm just not okay with that. So I can't do the whole, but they're really good. And you were on the road. Nothing's ever easy on the road in the SEC. No bullshit. It's a D2 quarterback who shoved it down your throat, man. Like I can't feel great about that. It doesn't mean that I think they're going to lose every game the rest of the year, but I certainly can't look at it and feel like, boy, they're right on the brink of a breakout here. No, the defense has a lot that they got to figure out.
100%. And here's the thing, Curtis. It's not like we can't change our minds. If Ole Miss wins out and this Chambliss kid turns out to be like, holy cow, he had 34 touchdowns, 2 picks. You know what? He really is just a stud. And Arkansas was the first team to see it. Perhaps, if that plays out, cool. I will gladly look back at this game and say, wow, you know what? That performance, that happens all the time. Performances age well. But here's my problem is last year when Arkansas lost to Oklahoma State in a very similar situation where you guys were very confident, mad at us for even considering that Arkansas might lose. And then they win, and all of a sudden it's like, well, that might be a play. I mean, we literally had media people say that was a playoff team, talking about Oklahoma State. So it's hard for me to buy into that. Real quick, I know we're running late here, and we ran late on the pregame, Curtis. I'm going to get you out of here. Don't you worry. But Stellar Matt says, someone check in on John after that fumble. Well, we are going to check in on John, who will not be joining us because apparently the internet in the stadium sucks. He says, internet is shameful here. So many things I wanted to hop on and say, but we'll sadly have to wait until the morning. Great job, fellas. Okay, so for everyone asked about John, that is what happened to John. A couple more super chats, and again, appreciate everybody for tuning in. Appreciate everybody who's giving us super chats, man. Like seriously, that's awesome.
I'm telling you right now, this Chambliss kid, they play Tulane next weekend. He's not going to have half. He will not get half the production against Tulane that he did on Arkansas tonight. I guarantee you that right now. It ain't happening.
I love, Curtis, that you were just
pissing me off all of a sudden. This mental gymnastics thing is pissing me off all of a sudden. Like I'm all on board with, man, this offense will be a lot of fun, whatever. Pretending like this isn't a big issue. Feel free to sip all the Kool-Aid you want, but good grief, man. This is crazy. What the hell are we talking about here?
To go back to the moral victory point, the thing you have to kind of ask yourself when your team wins or loses a game, if you win a game against a good team, you got to look at it and say, all right, this is awesome. Can we do this again? And then you can kind of evaluate. And if you have a bad loss, you have to look at it and say, will this happen again? Could this be something that happens again? And I think there are Hog fans, again, we can all view it through our lens, that look at this game and say, this is never going to happen again. I just do not feel that way. And I didn't feel that way coming into the season. And again, throughout the whole offseason, you guys have disagreed with us aggressively on all of this, on, the defense is going to be awesome. All this is going to be great. And so you can feel how you feel, but it's just, knowing what we knew coming into the season and seeing how it played out in their first real test, I do not buy that this is like this was just a one-off situation here against a random quarterback here. But Drake wants to know if this is the 2022 team with KJ that had a great offense that couldn't finish in the red zone, no D. Here's what I would say, Drake. And by the way, if you look at KJ's numbers from that year, KJ had awesome numbers. One of the best quarterback seasons ever played at the University of Arkansas. Rocket Sanders, if you remember, had one of the best rushing seasons we've ever seen at Arkansas. I think he ran for like 1,400 yards. Awesome year, had a bunch of 100-yard games. That team had a great offense. I would argue this offense is better than that offense. And I think they will not have the can't finish in the red zone all the time. This offense has been great in the red zone aside from the red zone fumble they had in this game. Was it in the red zone? Did he quite get in the red zone?
Almost. Yeah, I think the play was from 26 or something, but
good. Keeps the red zone things intact. And that year in 2022, they had the literal worst pass defense in the country. I don't think that's a horrible comparison, honestly, Drake, in terms of, what this team might be. It could be that. That team, by the way, went 6-6 and won the Liberty Bowl. And I know everyone hates to admit this. That is extremely in play with this team. 6-6 and winning the Liberty Bowl is very in play.
It absolutely is. Okay, Seahawks says, Curtis, he did not beat us by himself. His defense was a lot better than Taylor's, and his receivers are really good. First of all, their defense sucked too. Second of all, they had 475 yards of offense. Ole Miss did. This kid threw for 353, and he ran for 62. He was responsible for pretty damn much all out. You take the 44 yards that Lacey ran away, and it was all this kid. I don't know what to tell you. What the hell are you watching?
So to fill you in a little bit, Curtis, OKC Hog, if I remember correctly, is the guy that all week has been in the chat screaming about Taylor should be number one in Heisman votes, and he's been arguing with anybody. He is viewing it through a Taylor specific lens, and so people
trying to make this kid Russell Wilson. Somebody said it, so now people want to believe it. It's unreal. Someone else says, I think you're wrong, Curtis. This kid is different, and Kiffin knows it. Still, our defense sucks. Yeah, it certainly did this. I tell you what. Think in one hand, shit in the other, clap, and then come see me after this Tulane game, and let's talk about how this kid played. He's not that guy. Okay, I'm sorry, he's just not. This is crazy. What are we trying to make this dude? It's unbelievable, man. Good Lord, what are we doing?
Again, I think if you're going to make an argument, the argument should be that Arkansas didn't have film on them, and that's why they were so bad, and blah blah blah. That is
we already did that once this year for Alabama A&M.
Right.
Oh, well, we couldn't watch the Miles College film, so good grief. That first drive. Good Lord, man.
I love it, man. Curtis, man, I cannot emphasize enough how happy I am to be here with you doing this. And I'm saying this unironically. I love this, man. I've missed you so much, and I'm happy to have you back here with me because I've been fighting these battles by myself a little bit. Been arguing with the chat all week, and I'm the bad guy. It's nice to have another heel on the desk, you know.
I just hate being told that I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
For looking at that situation specifically and thinking, boy, that wasn't great. Yeah. You know, like I don't know how you can argue the other way on that. It's just not good.
Particularly, Curtis, when we've been told all off season that we were idiots. You know what I mean? And that like everyone was acting so like it was so offensive for us to ask questions. And we didn't even say for sure they were going to suck on defense. We just were like, hey, let's have the conversation. And people push back very aggressively. I don't know, man. It is what it is.
I really do love you guys.
I know, I really do too. And I know that, for as many guys as we pull up and we make fun of and we argue with, we know there are 150 of you back there that know what, that are rocking with us, are not disagreeing, and are just as frustrated as we are. Bo says that Sam just said, I don't know, RE, 1-score losses in press conference. Yeah, he does love it's kind of like a tick, kind of like the thing of that nature thing. He loves starting a question or an answer to a press conference with "I don't know" and then whatever. Yeah, that's a tough one.
We just got a few notes from the press conference.
Good, let's hear him.
John, he said that Pippen said that he knew the question about his one possession games was going to come up, and that he just doesn't know what to make of it. Neither do we. And then he was very disappointed with the execution of the defense in the second quarter.
Well, they did give up 24 points in that quarter.
Yeah, me too. That was rough. That was rough. I mean, honestly, I don't know what else he can say.
Truly. I mean, listen, as much as we nitpick Sam Pittman press conferences, sometimes you just got to go up there and eat the bowl of shit, man. Like, you just got to kind of you're never going to say anything in a post-game loss press conference that is going to be like, man, that was really good. But, you got to stop saying I don't know. Phil appreciated your rant, and Phil's a real one of the post game, real one of our show. He says, "Preach, Curtis, member for 4 months." Shout out to Phil.
Thanks.
Arkansas's back for more. He's having a night out on the town in Austin. He says one more to officially say congrats on becoming a parent, Curtis and Michelle. I'm trying to find. I saw a really hilarious chat earlier about you and your family, Curtis. Where was it at? Oh, here it is from Brian. Brian, he says, little Wesley got to see what it truly means to be a Hog fan in his first game ever. Well, I am happy to report for you. It was actually his second game ever.
It was, yeah. And it's disappointing because we would have really enjoyed that Arkansas State game. But when you're in the hospital, man, they just keep picking on you. They come into, we got to take him. We got to check his hearing. Oh, we got to give him a bath. Oh, we got to give him this shot. We got to do this. We got to do that. Does he want to get circumcised? It's just one thing after another. I'm like, man, leave the dude alone. And then they come in later and they're like, the second night they call it the second night scaries. He's just going to be inconsolable and pissed off. I'm like, yeah, because you guys wouldn't leave him alone all day. He's tired. He didn't really get to watch the game. This is the first time he got to sit and watch one. It's disappointing.
I feel bad because I'm just now like really scanning through the chat and just seeing some things. And here's one thing I will, and we're coming to a close here soon because, we got to get out of here. We got to get back to our lives and stuff. It's an hour, 15 minutes. The one thing I'll encourage fans to do, and want to reiterate, we appreciate you for being here. Seriously, this is awesome. We love having you here to discuss. We need this kind of stuff, and we need to all process it together. I would encourage you, for everyone that's very mad at us or disagrees vehemently with whatever we say, I would encourage you to go back and listen to a lot of our preseason coverage. You can even just do the Inside Arkansas Football channel because we did kind of a position-by-position look at things. We did a stat projection. We gave a lot of opinions preseason on our takes on the team. We also did a record prediction, of course. And under all of those videos, it is people that disagree with us on everything. Go back and listen to what we said about the team preseason. And I'm not saying we nailed every single prediction or we knew exactly how this was going to go. But I would even say, Curtis, going back to the offseason, if you listen to our coverage all offseason, this team is about what you expected so far through 3 games in terms of awesome offense, a lot of good stuff from Talon. We expected him to be better. He's better. The run game has some explosion, which we found out about in fall camp. The receivers are maybe a little bit better than we thought initially. And the offensive line's improved. And then the weaknesses on defense were the weaknesses we were screaming from the mountaintops all during fall camp. And so, again, I think there's a lot of Hawkins who feel like, man, we got sold a false bill of goods. And, man, they lied and said we were going to be awesome. And go back and listen to our coverage all offseason, man. That just was not the case. I feel like and I'm not saying we nailed it, but it's like we were pretty fair in our analysis, and I just think y'all would have a better experience with the Arkansas football team if you would just properly set expectations based on the facts that are there, on returning production, incoming transfers, all this, which is what we try to do, which is why we are not having crash outs like you guys are right now.
I did just come off of a crash out, but it's for a completely
yours was a crash out in response to a crash out. It's a little bit different.
Exactly.
It's a little bit different.
My final, I'm not even going to rant about this, but I just want to point it up because it backs my point. James Gamble says Harding held Chambliss to half as many yards last year. So I looked it up because they did play, and he threw for 145 and he ran for 86 on Harding University.
He different though, Curtis. Hey, Kiffin knew he was different.
Yep.
And hey, he did win a national championship at the D2 level. Make no mistake, it is a D2 quarterback. He was a very good D2 quarterback.
He was very good. Yeah. What do you have, like 5,000 yards of total offense or something? I think it was pretty good.
Yeah. Well, Curtis, I know that was you said that was your final thought, but I once again want to appreciate you, man, for sticking it through pregame, postgame, working all day, man. And you did a lot of work outside of this in between, I know. As we come to a close here on this beautiful postgame chapter, another brilliant edition, do you have any words of wisdom to leave with the Razorback Nation to wish them well on their journey?
Well, feel however you want to feel, but what I will say is these frustrating games happen to Arkansas a lot. We hate it. Some of us have become numb to it. Some of us get pissed off all over again when it does happen. I felt a little bit of all of that over the course of the last couple hours here as it all played out. I did have a lot of fun watching the football game though. Like I was genuinely excited all day today in the lead up to it. And it's nice to feel that way about your football team. And they're 2-1. You know what I mean? Like it's still very early in the season. There's a lot of football left to be played. And I think you can look forward to watching this offense do some really cool things and score a lot of points and have some highlights. And I think you got an awesome quarterback that's going to be really exciting. And will the defense figure it out? I have no idea. Is it going to yield a bunch of wins? I don't know. But I do think this is an entertaining football team to watch. And so for all the people that are doing the thing, and this is coming from the basketball guy now, for all the people that are doing things like, was it basketball season yet? Wake me up in November. Where's John Calipari? I get it. And I'm very much looking forward to that too. But I don't personally get the sense that this is time to like bail out on this football team by any means. I'm looking forward to watching them again on Saturday, and I fully expect them to kick Memphis's ass. That's kind of where I'm at with it.
Yeah, I think that's sound, man. I'm with you in terms of because I saw a lot of that in the chat as well as like, oh man, I don't even care. Like I'm out completely. And like again, you can feel however you want to feel, perfectly fine. I mean, as the basketball and baseball guys, we're certainly not going to like push it too hard, but I'm with you in terms of this team is. I mean, I had a lot of fun watching the game tonight. I was stressful, frustrating watching the defense, but like that was entertaining football. This team is, this offense specifically is worth watching on its own. Will the defense get in the way of them having a truly great season? Probably. But I do think it's far from time to just be like, all right, I'm out completely. And if you feel that way, that's fine. But we're going to continue doing what we do and covering every single, angle of this football program, breaking it down position by position with what we do. We're going to do our accountability sessions. We're going to do our report card. We're going to have our John Neighbors devotional. We're going to keep doing what we're doing, man. And like we always do, man, we do it because we love this program. We love this university, and we feel like we dedicate our lives to this, man. So I don't want you guys to make the mistake of thinking we're not in the same boat as you, that we're not hopeful that this all works out, and that we're not pulling just as hard as you are, and we're not just as frustrated as you are. We just try a little bit to compose ourselves and talk about it the best way we can, man. And we're going to continue to do that, man. So again, appreciate everybody for rocking with us, man. It's been another fun edition of the Inside Arkansas Football Postgame Show. He's Curtis Wilkerson. I'm Andrew Ellis. John Neighbors will be back with us soon. And we're Inside Arkansas, man. Make sure you stay tapped in with what we got going on, because we ain't going nowhere. And neither is the pig, even though it was a bad day. The sun will shine on our swine. Curtis, good night. Good night to all. Yeah, pig.